couple of things. One is there's a lot of reason to believe that the numbers we've been using to estimate these things, that austerity hurts even more than the standard estimates say. I mean, we've been looking at what's been happening in Europe. You say, geez, countries that have been doing sharp spending cuts have been really, really suffering badly. So more than 1 million unemployed construction workers. We have capital with no place to go, which is why interest rates are so low. This is a time when, for heaven's sake, the government should be taking advantage of that cheap money and unemployed labor to be fixing stuff, and instead we've been slashing public investment. And don't forget school teachers also. That's investment in our kids. That's investment in the future, and we've been slashing that too. So it's insane, top to bottom.
Incredibly dismissive of his opposition and using not only rhetoric that attacks their policies, but continually questions their motivations. Expected the Republicans from day one has been incredibly disrespectful to the process. But
by the way, the idea of Obama as somebody who governs from the left, I mean, Obama's positions are those of a moderate Republican circa 1992. It's not, he's not a leftist. What's happening now is you have a radical right Republican Party.
The president has always been very respectful of the views of the Republicans in the Congress, their leadership and their membership. He has always tried to accommodate him.
Take on the problem where it exists, on entitlements, and do some things that my own party really doesn't like, if it's part of a broader package of sensible deficit reduction.
I mean, isn't the president offering the Republican Party the earned benefits programs that we would trim? I mean, that's what it sounds
right.
like.
No, we have to do something about healthcare costs, which is what the main driver of stuff. But that doesn't really mean cutting benefits. That means cutting costs, which is, and I have to say, the president has been all along way too eager to trade away some of those, crucial social safety net programs.
And I have very different approaches to the future of America and what it takes to ignite our economy and put people back to work. The president believes in what I've described as a government-centered society, where government plays a larger and larger role, provides for more and more of the needs of individuals. And I happen to believe instead in a free enterprise, free individual society, where people pursuing their dreams are able to employ one another, build enterprises, build the strongest economy in the world. I happen to believe that my approach is the approach that will put 23 million people back to working.
Republicans in Congress have decided that instead of compromising, instead of asking anything of the wealthiest Americans, they'd rather let these cuts fall squarely on the middle class. In fact, thousands of teachers and educators will be laid off, and tens of thousands of parents will have to scramble to find child care for their kids. Air traffic controllers and airport security will see cutbacks, causing delays across the country. Even President Bush's director of the National Institutes of Health says these cuts will set back medical science for a generation. Already, the threat of these cuts has forced the Navy to delay the deployment of an aircraft carrier to the Persian Gulf, affecting our ability to respond to threats. And just this week, the Pentagon announced that if these cuts go through, almost 800,000 defense employees, the equivalent of every person in Miami and Cleveland combined, will be forced to take an unpaid leave. That's what this choice means. Are Republicans in Congress really willing to let these cuts fall on our kids' schools and mental health care just to protect tax loopholes for corporate jet owners?
The president got his tax hikes on January 1st. This discussion about revenue, in my view, is over. It's about taking on the spending problem here in Washington.
John Boehner keeps talking about more of the same, a spending problem that simply does not exist. Government spending actually fell rapidly after the stimulus ended. The last time we saw spending cuts this deep was after the Korean War.
Borrow it and then repay it later in better times, which is not at all. That may sound funny, but that's exactly what we've done in the past. That's exactly, how did we get out of the Great Depression? We got out of it actually, we got out of it before World War II, but thanks to the spending that preceded World War II, thanks to the military buildup. A little factoid, people may not know, just this morning. Which of the major economies in the advanced world grew fastest in the first quarter of 2012? The surprise answer is Japan. Why is that happening? It's because Japan is now spending a lot of money reconstructing after the tsunami. And that spending is driving rapid growth in Japan right now. We could all be doing that.
President Obama is an old-school liberal whose first instinct is to see free enterprise as the villain and government as the hero. America counted on President Obama to rescue the economy, to tame the deficit, and help create jobs. Instead, he bailed out the public sector, gave billions of your dollars to companies of his friends, and added almost as much debt to this country as all the prior presidents combined. The consequence is that we are now enduring the most tepid recovery in modern history.
Your response to Mitt Romney, Paul Krugman.
Boy, you don't even know where to start. I mean, Romney's technique is that since basically every word he says is a lie, including A and the, you never know where to start. But this is the idea that first of all, that Obama is responsible for the large deficits is just not true. It's overwhelmingly the result of Bush tax cuts, unfunded wars, and a terrible economic crisis that began, of course, under Bush. The idea that the deficits are what's holding us back is all wrong. The deficits are, in fact, what's keeping us afloat. If we had tried to balance the budget, we would now be in a full-on replay of the Great Depression. So it's all nonsense.